Spencer Kympton, you went to West Point. You were actually valedictorian of your class at West Point. You flew Black Hawk helicopters in the military. You understand military life and then reacclimating to civilian life.
I do. And that's what makes what I'm doing today so special, and what the Mission Continues is doing today so special. We recognize that today's military veterans was a generation that stood up after the events of 9/11 and said, we're ready to serve our country. And that generation, as they're coming home, is saying that again. We're ready to serve our country in a new way here at home, in our communities, and the Mission Continues is helping them with that.
Tell me a little bit about the history of the organization.
So our CEO and founder, Eric Greitens, was a Navy SEAL. He served in Iraq and Afghanistan. When he returned in 2007, after coming under some fire in his last deployment in Iraq, he was visiting men and women at Walter Reed and Bethesda hospitals in Washington, D.C., and what he heard in those conversations with those men and women, regardless of whether they were missing a limb or missing eyesight or missing their hearing, he heard time and time again men and women wanted to return to their unit. They wanted to serve again. And in most cases, those men and women were not going to be able to return to their unit because of their injuries. But their desire to serve was no less strong. And Eric, hearing that theme, decided to start the Mission Continues and give post 9/11 veterans who at the time had suffered either the visible or invisible scars of service the opportunity to serve again here on the home front.
How does one apply for the fellowships, or do you apply?
You do apply. We actually have a fairly rigorous application process. And it's rigorous because we want to make sure that the veteran has a deep desire to serve again, and that he or she is goal-oriented and is community-focused and is coming back ready to give back, whether that is by mentoring low-income kids or by building homes for the impoverished or by training service animals who are going to serve people with disabilities. Whatever the passion is that the veteran has, we want to tease that out as part of the application process and make sure that that fellow is ready to serve again here at home.
And this fellowship lasts several months.
It's a 6-month fellowship. So our fellows sign up to serve 520 hours over the course of those 6 months. That's roughly 20 hours a week. And in the balance of their week, so 20 hours a week, they're volunteering at their community organization. In the other half of their week, we're working with them towards a post-fellowship goal. So our fellows are working towards either full-time employment or continued education or finding a permanent role in community service. So the Mission Continues works with them towards that goal.
Give me a success story in this program.
Well, there are so many at this point. We've awarded over 500 fellowships, but to paint a picture of what a fellow might look like. So imagine the communication specialist who might have set up communications networks in Kabul, Afghanistan, who upon her return moves to Nashville and decides that she wants to mentor kids. So she teaches English as a second language to refugee kids in Nashville. And during her fellowship, while she's mentoring these kids, is also looking for full-time employment in Nashville. When she's done, she goes on to a teaching degree and teaches kids full-time in Nashville. She and many others, many of our fellows like her, are proving day in and day out that today's veterans can serve their communities on their way home and be positive role models of service for kids, for community members, for the country at large.
There really are so many ways to serve outside of the front lines, but still, these veterans really are on the front lines of people in our country.
They're on the front lines of our communities now, and they are out there day in and day out proving that today's veterans can be models of service.
Tell me about Natasha.
Well, Natasha, she is another one of our very successful fellows. She was a fellow here in Boston. She was a Marine, will always be a Marine, and she'll tell you that. She was a recruiter in the Marine Corps, so she was very good at bringing future Marines into service. And accordingly, she's deeply passionate about service, and she carried that passion home with her after serving honorably in the Marine Corps, She did it as a fellow here in Boston, and now she's actually doing it as one of our recruitment associates here at the Mission Continues. So she's bringing veterans back into service here at home and reinstilling that passion that they had while serving in the military here at home.
Is it tough to recruit veterans, or do they come looking for this program? It's an outstanding program, so I would imagine it's quite popular.
Well, it's growing in popularity, and we're enjoying lots of applications. Fellows come to us from a variety of sources, whether it's other fellows who recommend or refer friends or unit mates. Family members often send future fellows our way. But we're a nationwide program. We've had fellows in over 43 states at this point. We're on our way to 50 plus DC. And welcome all post 9/11 veterans who have served at least 2 years in the military and who have an honorable discharge to come and join us.
Very good. Do they get to pick their area of service within their community?
It's actually important that the veteran has a passion for what he or she is going to do. So we actually work with them during the application process to identify what they are passionate about so that we can help them identify an organization that will best suit that passion. So whether it's mentoring kids or building homes, we'll help them find that organization.
Can you tell me a little bit about Jeff and Natasha? Are they finished with their fellowships, or are they still in the process?
Jeff has just recently started. He's about halfway through his fellowship here in Boston. Natasha has completed her fellowship, and she actually, because of her fellowship and because of how passionate she is about the mission of challenging returning veterans to serve again, she actually came to work for the Mission Continues. So now she's a recruitment associate, recruiting today's generation of veterans here in the New England area to serve in fellowships as well. And she's one of our best recruiters, and she's deeply passionate about this mission.
How many fellows have graduated through this program?
So we've awarded over 500 fellowships at this point. Just last weekend in Dallas, we brought 75 new fellows into the fold, and we do that quarterly, roughly 70 to 100 fellows a quarter.
Where do you get the funding for this program?
So our funding is 100% private dollars. We're fortunate to have great corporate sponsorships.
Spencer, what's the ultimate goal of Mission Continues?
Well, the Mission Continues is committed to having post 9/11 veterans find meaning and purpose again in their lives. We want successful transitions to civilian life. And we deeply believe that community service and serving others can be a vehicle for post 9/11 veterans to find meaning again. Now that can be en route to things like employment, continued education, a permanent role in service, but today's generation of veterans can be assets on the home front. We deeply believe that at the Mission Continues, and we believe that service and serving others is a way to improve the transition outcomes and reintegration of today's veteran.
And you mentioned something earlier about the invisible scars. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, today's veteran is dealing with a significant range of challenges upon return. These men and women, again, raised their right hand and said, we're going to defend our country in a time of war. And many of those men and women might have deployed multiple times overseas, has seen a variety of different challenges while they've been overseas. And, they're coming home with challenges that are real. We believe that a way of dealing with challenges is to focus outside of yourself. And again, focusing on your community, focusing your desire to serve on others is a way to address, not fully, but address those challenges.
And tell us a little bit about the fellowship application process. Can you walk me through the process?
So,
do these organizations come to you looking for opportunities, or does it all go the other direction? The veterans come to you and want the fellowships.
So at this point, we've had over 350 host organizations. We call them host organizations. And within that 350, we've had some fellows come to us and say, I really want to serve at this chapter of Habitat for Humanity. In some cases, the veterans come to us with a desire. I like working with animals. I like working with children. And in those cases, we'll help them identify organizations within their community that may suit that passion. And then in some cases, in many cases recently, we've had organizations that have heard about the Mission Continues, who have heard about the skills and experiences that today's veterans bring to the table, and have filled out an application to have a fellow in their organization. So we're excited that organizations are coming on their own because they've heard about today's veterans.